Hey guys, Scott here again with a new topic with you. Thanks for all the feedback on my first few videos. I do this a lot of my videos just to kind of give a quick intro because some of you are watching me on YouTube and you're like, who is this guy? I've been homebrewing for roughly 25 years. About 3 years ago, I learned about the Cicerone program. Those of you not familiar with the Cicerone, they're kind of the sommelier, but for beer. Studied for a long time. Last year, took the written test, got a 94. I was really happy with it. Didn't quite sit for the tasting portion yet, partially due to COVID and the Cicerone program not having a lot of dates that worked for my schedule. And then I ran into some obstacles and I couldn't sit for it. But if I had to take it today, I probably would do pretty well with it. But I haven't officially taken that, and that's on my to-do list. I just, in the meantime, since I have some time, wanted to share some, beer knowledge with you guys that for those of you who have been interested. So again, today what we're going to be talking about is wit beer. Wit in Flemish means white, so it means white beer. And you're going to see it pretty apparent when I pour it into the glass in a little bit. It's going to look very cloudy, pale yellow, white. If you've had Weiss beer, German beer, Weiss means white in German. So there's going to be some similarities. Both are wheat beers. This one's going to be roughly today about, I think if I hadn't shown you yet, here's my Allagash White. There's going to be another style called Hoegaarden, and those of you guys may drink Shock Top in the United States. But Allagash White is a very close to the style of it. It's about 4.5 to 5.5% alcohol. The interesting thing about Belgian wheat beer is basically twofold. One is why it became so popular roughly 400 or 500 years ago is they used to tax beer on the size of the mash tun in Belgium. In England, they used to tax it on the original gravity of beer, which is the amount of solutes in that sugary wort, which is that solution that the yeast will eat to eventually produce beer. So in England, they would tax it on how how much alcohol potential you could have in the beer, and that had to do with the original gravity of beer. In Belgium, it had to do with the size of the mash tun. The mash tun is where they put all the grains in, put hot water in there, produce that nice thick sugary syrup. But they wouldn't tax them on a secondary mash tun, which they could use wheat for. So they would supplement a lot of the wheat with the malted barley to produce, obviously, the wheat beers. It was very popular through much of the 1800s, early 1900s. A lot of wheat beer started losing popularity. It was kind of taking a second place to the Pilsner type of beers like German Pilsner, Czech Premium Pale Lager like Pilsner Urquell, which is that very clear golden color. Glass was getting very popular in the early 1800s, so that, they wanted to see sparkling beer. So it started, losing some steam as the decades were going on. And basically in the, early 1900s to about roughly 1950 or so, don't hold me to the exact date, it was losing some steam. And there was a gentleman who kind of gets credit in beer history for revitalizing this style, again, wit beer, Pierre Celis, C-E-L-L-I-S, or I think it's E-L-I-S. Believe it or not, he was a milkman in Belgium. And he opened up Dekluis Brewery, D-E-K-L-U-I-S, and he produced a beer called Hoegaarden, named for the town that the brewery was in. He had worked in a brewery called Thompson Brewery in Belgium to get some familiarity with brewing this style of beer. So what he did was in the town of Hoegaarden, where he was from, he started producing it, and pretty much, I think it was around 1960s. I think if I remember correctly, low 60s, he started producing this wit beer, Hoegaarden. And unfortunately, around 1985, 86 in Belgium, his brewery burnt down to the ground. He had no insurance. He had to wind up selling it to Interbrew, which had been later bought out by AB InBev, which is, think of Budweiser, a big beer. So he basically, revitalized the style, but unfortunately ran into some tough times in the mid-1980s. From there, he moved to Texas, the United States here, believe in Austin or outside of Austin, and opened Celis Brewery, and he brought the Witbier Style to the United States. And pretty much the rest is history from that point forward. And, you know, it's become one of my favorite styles of beer, probably my top 10 or 20 styles, especially over the, you know, last couple of years of you know, learning more about beer styles. And I think that last video I talked about the BJCP. You learn about all these different styles of beer, roughly 100, BJCP, the Brewing Judge Certification Program. And Witbier is one of the, you know, I don't want to say the primary one, but is one of the beers that we learn about. How it's made, and when I pour it out, you're going to see it. They use about roughly half Pilsner malt, which is used in a lot of your light lagers. They'll use unmalted wheat, sometimes oats, which will give it some of that haziness, pale yellow straw color cloudiness that you're going to see in this style of the beer, which is normal. The beer is going to be about 4.5 to 5.5% alcohol, so pretty sessionable. It's easy to drink, summer type of ale. Just trying to think what else we're going to do. The other thing it's brewed with, which is kind of a characteristic of the style of beer, it's going to use coriander. Okay. Now I pulled out some coriander. If you don't remember what coriander smells like, I'm sure you may have it in your cupboard. Okay. They use coriander and they use orange peel. And so if you take the coriander and just don't stick it right up your nostril, just kind of, you know, kind of do a drive-by your nostril and take a whiff of it, okay? And when you pour this beer out, whether it's Allagash White or Hoegaarden, which you see in your local, Hoegaarden you're going to see in your store because it is owned by, again, AB InBev, which is very easy. And that's the other classical style for Witbier. But the first thing you're going to smell is the coriander. I don't usually get a lot of orange, but they do use orange, coriander, Pilsner malt, unmalted wheat, sometimes oats, like I said, to give some of that cloudiness to it. So what we're going to do is, let me pour the beer. Okay, and like I said, we got our Allagash White. This brewery is in or outside of Portland. I've been to Portland. I don't recall. I think it was just out on the outskirts of Portland. Like I said, Hoegaarden you're going to see very commonly in your beer store. Shock Top, which is not a favorite, that's another one that fits the style of Witbier. Not one of my favorite ones, but if you can get your hands on Allagash White or Hoegaarden, you're really going to smell that coriander flavor. Now, coriander, remember, is the seed of the cilantro plant, and it's kind of ground down, hence how we get the spice here. Okay, so let me just get my beer. All right. So what I would do with this is, like you've seen me on my first few videos, you know, get something with a nice wide mouth to it, maybe a stem, a tulip, even a tulip pint I would use. Try to stay away from the shaker pints. Okay, so we're going to kind of pour this in. Okay. And I'm just going to go about halfway so we can leave some room to get some of the aroma. So you can see how pale beer that is. Very sessionable beer, very easy to drink, not very heavy. You know, some guys I watch videos on myself, you know, they call it crushable or quaffable. There's the Master Cicerone, Pat Fahey. You watch a lot of his videos. He coined the term quaff life. So if any of you watch him, you probably have heard this before. But again, very easy to drink. But you can see there's a nice frothy head there. Okay, white. Okay, if I leave this here, sitting here for a little bit, I will be able to sustain that head for a little bit of a while. It's a straw color. Okay, maybe a light gold for some of you, but and then that haziness is normal. Okay, it may look a little bit like Hefeweizen from Germany. Now, remember, with Hefeweizen, you're going to get more of a clove and a banana smell to it. This, like I said, you immediately get hit, especially with a fresh can. And this one was, I think, canned about 8 weeks ago, so it's very fresh. You can kind of just bring it, you know, past your nostrils. You can definitely get the coriander. I don't pick up a lot of orange. Actually, if anything, and yeah, they do use orange peel in the brewery. They don't, not sticking orange juice in there. But I actually get probably from the coriander, like a lemongrass. You know, you get a little bit of that bread dough, white flour, kind of malty, smell profile from it. Okay, but definitely coriander. So if any of you are training to be a Cicerone, again, I'm in the process, like I said, but I do the tasting portion of it. Definitely get familiar with the smell of coriander because it will distinguish it between, if you're doing a side-by-side comparison with Hefeweizen, even though it looks the same, you're definitely going to get the coriander with it. Okay, so we'll take a sip. Again, similar to the aroma, you get a lot of coriander there, okay? Orange, lemon, I definitely get that floury, doughy kind of from the Pilsner malt flavor. Very effervescent, okay? So there's a lot of carbonation to this. So again, very thirst-quenching summertime beer drink. So it's something that those of you who, what I would recommend a beer like this is if you're looking to get into craft beers and you're someone that drinks Budweiser or Miller Lite or even traditional German Pilsners, which are high quality, and try something like an Allagash White here. You kind of get a little bit of a different taste of the malt and things like that. There's not much hop character to this like your IPAs, so you're not going to get blasted with, I don't know what Allagash White uses, but there's not much bitterness with this. You're not going to get that aroma of fruit or resiny or piney like I was talking about in the IPA videos about West Coast. You're really going to get that coriander. I kind of perceive that again, that light lemon peel. I wouldn't put fruit in this while we're talking about that topic, similar to Hefeweizen. I don't recommend it but if that's what you like to do what you want to do. Throw fruit in there, orange. I know like Shock Top usually has, I don't know if it's a lemon or a piece of orange sitting there. I'm not big with throwing fruit in my beer, but some people like to do that. So again, very light mouthfeel, medium-bodied. On the back end, again, you're still going to get a lot of the coriander. This one, Allagash White versus Hoegaarden. You may want to start with Hoegaarden. That's probably I don't get as much coriander with Hoegaarden. You'll see that again in the store. Allagash is a little bit heavier with the coriander, but it's very refreshing beer to drink. So again, we can thank Pierre Celis, the Belgian milkman, for revitalizing the style in Belgium and then subsequently bringing it over to the United States. Now, what I like to pair this with is, when you're pairing beer with food, you want to match intensities. I may do a whole video on food and beer pairing and to try to, mimic my my favorite YouTubers out there that I've learned from over the years. But you want to match intensity. So something like this, which is a lower intensity beer, you may want to match it with a light shellfish or shrimp. Maybe not a very deep caramelized chicken. Something like beef will blow this beer away. Overconsume it. So like mussels, maybe, and like garlic and a light broth. I know Belgians eat a lot of mussels and shellfish. Maybe clams, shrimp dishes would be good. Because of the coriander, may actually go good with nice light chicken tacos. Maybe with mango salsa. You don't really want to hit this with chili. Other than the carbonation and lightness may help cleanse your palate. It may be okay for that type of thing, but you kind of want to match the intensity first. Also with food pairing, then maybe you want to, contrast it a little bit. With something like this, if you decided you said, hell with it, Scott, I want to eat a pizza or something, with a Italian sauce, because of the carbonation, kind of cleanse it off the palate. I wouldn't disagree with you. As much as I will throw recommendations on my videos, drink what you want to drink. So sometimes we want to contrast things. Sometimes we want to complement flavors with the lemon and the coriander. Again, being the seed of the cilantro plant. Those light tacos, like I said, that have cilantro in them. You may want to, use it. Use a beer like this with. Other things, just kind of light dishes. I probably wouldn't go real heavy with like curries or, wings, again, unless you just want to use the effervescence from this beer to kind of cleanse your palate. Just kind of looking at a couple things to see if there's anything else I wanted to cover on this beer. But again, it's called Witbier, white beer. Weiss beer is kind of the equivalent for white beer in German. It is a Belgian style beer, very popular over there. A little different than the Trappist beers that I was talking about. I am going to be going over my Belgian Dark Strong here soon. So again, Allagash White is a very popular true to style beer. If you see this in the stores, you may want to try this out, especially if you're, a light beer drinker. You want to, expand and try something different. Hoegaarden, like I said, Shock Top, in my opinion, isn't, the best example, but it is another type of wheat beer that you can try as far as a wheat beer style. But it's really that coriander that you're going to get hit that you may not be familiar with. A little bit of the orange, effervescence, easy to drink, very crushable. Your next summer barbecue, instead of pulling the Budweiser or the Bud Light, grab a 4, 6, 8 pack of this or Hoegaarden, and I think you'd enjoy it. Again, this is something that I didn't drink much in college and after that, but I've really began to enjoy that. Had a friend buy me a 4-pack this weekend because I haven't had it in several months. Okay, again, 4.5 to 5.5% alcohol. You can see it's very pale. And there it is. Okay, very pale beer. Okay, so again, we can thank Pierre Celis and Hoegaarden Brewery, as well as Celis Brewery. Celis White, I think, was the style. I don't think it's still commercially available. And that's pretty much it. Until next time, guys, cheers, and I will see you all soon. You take another sip. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy that. All right, guys, have a great day.